Some of the matters discussed on today's podcast may be distressing. Please listen with caution. Hey there, Black Mom Diaries. What do you do when it's one bad thing after another? On this episode of Black Mom Diaries, LaTanya and I chatted up with self-leadership coach Jacynta Brewton. Amid the backdrop of her traumatic true story of grief and loss, Jacynta helps people lead themselves to success in their personal and professional lives. Jacynta earned a bachelor's degree in sociology, master's degree in leadership, and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification in performance improvement. She's a mom, a wife, and a working professional who enjoys finding new ways to avoid all those pesky carbs and spend quality time. Hey everybody, this is Patricia.
And I am LaTanya.
And we are the
Black Mom Diaries. Okay, that was so much airtime. I felt like I felt like we were like on a skateboard and we caught the air there. You know what I'm saying? But it's all
hang
good.
Time.
Yeah, that was way better than the last 14 times. I mean,
I feel like it. I feel like we finally got our groove. Finally.
Yeah. That's what's up.
Yeah. How are you today?
Well, you know what? It's cooling down, right? Because it just is. And I'm good because it's cooling down and I can sit on my balcony and enjoy the sunset without looking like a burnt potato.
Looking like a burnt what?
A potato, because I get bronze in this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I was light skinned it is, but then I get bronze. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't get. I used to burn a lot, but because I was light, fair skin in Florida, and then I got stuck on that roller coaster going up. And I got stuck in the sun, and I thought Black people didn't get sunburn.
Oh no! Yeah,
I say that with a capital L and a high pitch A. Lies, because my face is burnt.
Girl, can I tell you how many times I went over this with my husband when we were dating? He was always like, because I always had the sunscreen, and I would ask him, "You want some sunscreen?" Black people don't burn. I don't need any of that. What are you talking about? Yes, they do. I have been burned before by the sun. Have some sunscreen. No, Black people don't burn. Okay. All right. Whatever. All right. Never mind. And I think
it's specific. It's specific Black people. Like the skin and, your husband's darker than you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband's darker than me. He doesn't sunburn. He can stay in the sun all day. He doesn't.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm one of those people that burns. I'll never forget when I was in high school in cheerleading camp. I believed that same lie. And guess what? We had to do, for whatever reason, that year of cheerleading camp, we had to do all these different funky hairstyles. And on crazy ponytail day, I had like 2 ponytails. So my hair was parted in the middle, no sunscreen, hair grease, girl. Oh, my scalp hurt so bad.
Your scalp was sunburned?
Yes, I got a sunburn on my scalp. And also I got a sunburn on my nose.
Yeah, that's the only place I burned, on the top of my nose, like forehead, but like nothing else. Your scalp, my
scalp, girl, my scalp.
You're the first person I've ever heard.
I was like, oh no, Black people burn. I'll buy some sunscreen.
I still don't buy sunscreen for my kids because I'm not thinking we're going to be in the sun that long. And so my 7-year-old, the talker, we went to a pool party back in the summer, and they were like, "Come on over here, let's put some sunscreen on." My son goes over and says, "No, my dad says we have built-in sunscreen in our skin and we don't need it." That's what he tells them. Now my son is he's a little bit lighter, you know him. He's a little bit lighter than me, but they just get bronze. You know, I always say bronze in this thing. They get bronze in this thing too. And he didn't burn because that's it. You were out there hours.
Right.
Like, I mean, 3 hours in the sun is not going to burn us, but we were stuck on that roller coaster. It had to be about 50 minutes, but it was 50 minutes, but it was direct sunlight on our face.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we couldn't even put our hand up. So, you know, I'm sitting out. Y'all can't see my face, but
no breaks.
Like, oh boy, they was like, we were coming to get you guys. But anyway, I could talk about that experience. I have never gotten on a roller coaster since that ride.
You know, I haven't been on a roller coaster since back in the day when my husband and I were dating. I think we went for our 1-year anniversary to a theme park, and that was the last time I got on the roller coaster, because when we left, girl, my head was hurting so bad. I felt nauseous. I felt dizzy. And I was like, and also I was scared out of my mind. And I was like, why did I used to like riding roller coasters when I was younger? This is awful. So after that, I was like, I think I'm good.
I had whiplash. My neck was frozen for a whole week. And I was only like 30 years old. I don't get on them. I just let my kids get on them. But you know, it's all good. So we have a guest today, right?
We do have a guest today, and I'm very excited about this guest.
Yes.
So, what do you do when it's one bad thing after another? On this episode of Black Mom Diaries, LaTanya and I are going to chat with self-leadership coach Jacynta Brewton. Amid the backdrop of her traumatic true story of grief and loss, Jacynta helps people lead themselves to success in their personal and professional lives. Jacynta earned a bachelor's degree in sociology, a master's degree in leadership, and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification in performance improvement. She's a mom, a wife, and a working professional who enjoys finding new ways to avoid all those pesky carbs and spend quality time with loved ones, including herself. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the Black Mom Diaries virtual house, Miss Jacynta Brewton.
Welcome.
Thank you. I feel so honored. It's such a privilege to grace your stage, your illustrious stage.
Good. How y'all doing here? Goodbye.
So let me tell you something about what y'all said about this scalp. I mean, the scalp. I was like, okay, well, that's a first. I've never heard that before. But I grew up in South Florida, so that heat and that needing that to be on your face is definitely. I know about that.
Well, I think it's Florida. I think Florida and Texas, they have very different heat, right? The humidity.
They sure do. That humidity, honey. The humidity.
Yeah. This happened in Florida for what I'm talking about. I was in Tampa.
Okay. You were in Tampa. Okay. Yeah.
It's got that brutal. So I think Texas, where we live, it feels like being in an oven or being in front of an oven. You know, when you are cooking something in an oven, you open it.
Yes.
On your face.
That's a great example.
What does Florida heat feel like? Because I've never been to Florida.
Sticky.
It's sticky. That's the best word. It's sticky and it's just humid, and you feel like you just gotta do this thing where you're like are peeling your clothes off. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just that. Just get me out of this.
Right. Like if there was like walk-in showers on every block, you would walk.
There you go. That's it right there. That's it right there. Yes.
And it's hot water in hot weather kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah, pretty much. But then I hear Arizona's different.
Oh no, Arizona's like.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
And Cali. I heard Cali heat is different too.
Really?
I love Cali is like their weather is perfect.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you lived out there.
Yes. And I miss the weather and not Marcus, my husband. When we lived out there, he didn't deal with allergies. So that was really nice for him not to like be all sneezy all day in the morning and everything.
Wait, so now he feels like he gets it in Texas now?
Oh yeah. As soon as we moved back to Texas, he was like, achoo, all over the place. So,
And he won't drink apple cider vinegar. Actually, that's not true. He started doing that. And I've been an apple cider vinegar drinker for forever. And it's funny, you know, it doesn't smell the best, but he is always making fun of me. And I was always like, you want some? Here, I'll give you a little bit. It would help with the allergies. And he's like, no thanks.
So he just refuses. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but now, I mean, he drinks it a little bit now. So.
Okay.
I got something for him. I'm going to bring it back. You know, I like holistic stuff.
Well, I was going to say, wait a minute now. What is that? Share it with the folks.
Just, you know, we talked about, I feel like this is a Black Mom Diary name drop. You know, when we was on the April episode, Miss April Stewart's episode, and we talked about the roasted garlic soup. It's good, but you actually add some nettle leaf to it and a little bit of lemongrass, and you drink on it all day. Like, just mix it with something and you sip on it all day.
I'm gonna act like I know what nettle leaf is. Okay, I'm gonna act for a minute like I know, and I'm gonna go look it up later.
Yep, it's
Latanya's
really good.
She's gonna send the recipe, and I'm air quoting. She's gonna send the recipe to us.
Okay, so. Good.
Well, it's so good to have you on the show today, Miss Jacynta. Thank you again for being here. We're gonna jump right in because we have a lot to talk about. So first of all, you know, there's always a few questions that we like to ask our guests, typically just to get warmed up. So what is the most challenging part of motherhood for you?
I think it's interesting. The question itself is a good question because it automatically assumes right on in it that it's highs and lows. And I think that's the best part of that question because there's highs and lows when it comes to being a mom. And I think the most challenging part for me is this gnawing thought of, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Am I getting this right? Is that right? Is this right? Is this okay? Will this be okay? Am I going to totally send my kids to therapy when they get older and they're going to just report back one Christmas, you know, when they're like 25, like, remember that time you did that thing? Yeah, that totally ruined my life. Like, that's the thing where it's like, okay, am I getting this right? That every day, and as the omnious toilet bowl flushes with my little 3-year-old right next door, right? So like, am I getting it right? Is that challenge?
Real life.
Motherhood, real life.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm always like, the question that I always ask myself is, are my kids going to want to hang out with me when they get older? Like when they actually have a face, are they going to want to hang out? I hope so. But yeah,
I just affirm it. I affirm that they're going to want to hang out with me in their space at that time.
That's right.
Right? Because right now we're like, they're all up under our, you know, our breast and on our head,
right.
You know, and we're like, we know it's not going to always be like this, but I always affirm that my kids are always going to be with me, whether it's let's go to breakfast, mom, and hang out, something as they get older.
Right. Aww. I like that. I like that affirming.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and speaking things that are not as though they will be. Yes, love that. But yeah, for me, that's the most challenging. It's just being honest and saying there's highs and lows. And one of the things that I question is, am I getting this right? You know?
Well, I like to end on the positive note. So what are the best parts, or what are the highs of motherhood for you?
Oh my God, the highs to me are more abundant than that gnawing question, because they come in little things. Like they come in smiles, they come in giggles. Like the other day, the kids were just playing around and I just stopped while what I was doing, washing the dishes, and I heard them just giggling. I was like, I would love to record this because it's just so sweet. And they're just having a good time. So the purity of what kids are and how honest they are, I love that. The other part about being a mom is how it challenges me to stretch and be better, because I am a working mom. So I love that part of, okay, well, how do I balance all of this? And the illusion of balance, that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
But the other thing I love about motherhood is that it's a title I get to keep forever now, right? Like it's one role that will stick with me forever. And I think that also helps with just how invested I am in being their mommy. And so I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. She just turned 6 recently. So she is loving it. She's loving it. So those are the things I love. And I find things all the time to try to like and appreciate and affirm, to use Latania's words, to affirm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That I heard something the other day when you mentioned the giggles and things like that. I heard someone tell a story yesterday about how she saw kids playing in the yard and it was just so blissful. And the first thing she wanted to do was ask, where y'all it was Mary, one of the Mary girls. She wanted to say, where y'all mama at? But she was like, the kids were having such a great time.
Yes.
Changed, and they wasn't worried about anything. And she said she just stood there and looked at them, and it gave her a great, just the best feeling. It weren't even her children.
Yeah, just take in the moment. Yes. So I've been doing a lot more of taking in the moments. And that's one of the things I'm loving about motherhood.
That is so important, just taking in the moments, because time goes so quickly. And I know sometimes I think back and I'm like, man, this little peanut, you were just a little peanut and I could hold you with just with my hand because you were so tiny, and now you're jumping up on me and hurting my back.
Right, because you don't realize how much bigger you've gotten and you weigh a lot more, so and you're hurting me.
Yeah. Well, what is your mom philosophy?
I think it's twofold. One side of it is just stay with it. Especially when they're at an age where they are pulling on you all the time. Like I had a time recently where it's like, I just felt like I wasn't doing what my 3-year-old needed. I didn't do what my 6-year-old needed. My husband was like, okay, what happened to this? And I was like, geez, okay, I'm not being affirmed right now. So the first thing, a part of my philosophy is you can affirm yourself, right? Don't depend on everyone else to say you're doing a good job and add a girl. Take a minute, I'll take a minute. I'll put on a good song and jam out. I'll stand in the mirror. I'll have a cry, but whatever it is, I won't let whatever the situation is, that even if it's negative or positive, I won't. Most likely the negative ones are the ones though. So my philosophy is my first part of my philosophy is affirm yourself and know that every day you're doing better than you did yesterday. And even if you didn't, you can always get it right the next day. And then I think the second part of my philosophy is have fun. I naturally am more of the phrase that comes to mind is stick in the mud, but I'm more of a very focused, planned, strategic type person. And what I find in my philosophy with motherhood is if I just have fun, everybody's fine. Like they will be okay. So what? I didn't plan out the meal for the week, or I didn't make, seaweed ice cubes, or you know what I mean? Like it'll be okay. It will be fine. Have fun. So that's my twofold part of my philosophy. Stay in it. You're a great mom. You might not get it right all the times, but affirm yourself, and then have fun with it.
Yeah, but what's get it right?
Exactly right. That's it right there. That's it.
Who's making these right rules?
Right. Where they at?
And they don't live in my house.
Those people, them,
Them, those over there.
That's when you start looking outside of yourself. That's when you start, like you said, I love what you said about, affirming myself. You're not affirming the idea of who you should be. You're affirming you.
That's right.
I think that's where we get lost at sometimes. That's right. We start to think about what somebody's idea is about us and try to live in that. That's just
especially as Black moms too. Like we got a different kind of thing. I remember one episode I heard you all talk about the differences in ethnicities and how we raise our children and how we parent as moms. And as a Black mom, I try really hard to set a tone in our home and in our atmosphere where people can be honest and vulnerable. And I'm one of those people. Like I feel like it's easy to set the atmosphere for other people, but then we neglect ourselves. So I even set the atmosphere for myself to be vulnerable and open and say, hey, y'all, okay, y'all pulling a lot. Where's mommy time? Like, what about me here? Not being selfish, but being vulnerable and setting that atmosphere and that tone in the house. I found as a Black mom is important.
I still have another question. What is selfish? Again, I still
let me tell you these
put
labels on stuff.
Yes. What is that? It's not we put something there, but we really need to be selfish because we give it all out. We give it all out regularly.
Yeah.
And then, but when you're, as your story will begin to unfold, when we're not feeling well, are we allowed to be selfish then only at that point?
Right. When everything's falling and crashing, then, right.
And that's too.
And then, go ahead, Patricia.
I was just going to say that's too late. And it reminds me of what I mentioned in your intro. The last thing that I said is that you really enjoy spending quality time with yourself. I mean, with your loved ones, including yourself.
Including myself. That's right.
And when I first read that after you sent it, I was like, oh, wow. Like she actually thinks about herself as someone she loves.
Yes.
It's so easy to neglect self as a mom and do everything and give everything into your children. And then if you're in a marriage, give everything to your spouse. And at the end of the day, you're just empty.
Yeah.
So that's just important to think about.
It's so important. I guess I'll kick up. Can I start telling you all about my experience and what got me to this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
So back in 2018, way back when, in April, I was pregnant with twins, and it was like so exciting because I had done like the faith thing. Like in 2017, I'd heard like a minister or something I read in the Bible, have faith and speak to things. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna believe. Yeah. So I asked for twin boys. I was like very specific. I specifically wanted to get pregnant with twin boys. So I did. And I was like, what? So I was so excited. So come April, I'm like in my second trimester. Everything's going okay. Of course, the doctors are telling me I'm a geriatric patient because I'm 35 and talk about naming conventions. Like, let's talk about that. Like, why I got to be a geriatric mom. Like, that's a whole other thing. Either way, I was 35, pregnant with twins. Pregnancy was going well. One day, however, it was in April 2018. I wasn't feeling the best. And my norm had been throughout the pregnancy, which was the same when I had my daughter, who was 2 years old at the time. I would just go take a shower. A nice warm shower would do me well. So I left downstairs where my husband was with our daughter having breakfast. We didn't go to church that day. I wasn't feeling the best. So I go upstairs by myself, close the door behind me to our bedroom, go into our bathroom, close that door, and didn't even think that I should get my phone because I was just going to take a shower, right? That's what I do when I'm not feeling the best. So I'm standing in the shower, and all of a sudden, a rush of pain comes over me. And I'm like, I know this pain. This feels like I'm going into labor. So just as I'm trying to process that happening, the feeling of wanting to push comes over me so strong at the bottom of like my uterus or something. Like it was such a strong feeling. So I am literally in active labor trying not to push babies out in the shower. I can't walk because I feel like if I do, I'm not going to be able to hold, my legs, because the very function of walking means that you have to open, so I can't do that. And so I'm standing in the shower, water running over me, praying. All of a sudden, my husband walks through the door and he's like, hey, babe, just checking on you. You okay? I'm like, nope, not okay. This is more than what I thought it was. Fast forward a few minutes, he walks me out into our bed with our 2-year-old daughter watching, and he helps me deliver our first baby on our bed with 911 telling him how to do that. I'm pushing, I'm trying to, I haven't seen a cute pregnancy push. I'm trying to have a cute pregnancy push as much as I can with my 2-year-old watching right there. But, my face is looking crazy. I'm trying to hold it together so she's not scared because we can't put her anywhere. This is happening so fast. The ambulance comes, they get the baby. As a mom, one of the first things you're listening for is the cry, right? You're listening for that cry. It's like, okay, this is crazy, but at least I hear the cry. I didn't hear a cry, y'all. And I had to, again, try to hold it together because now I have another baby in me and I have my 2-year-old watching, and I have the concern of the baby not crying. All of this is happening at once. So the ambulance comes and the paramedic takes my one son, and they're trying to bring him to, they're trying to pump him. They're trying to get him to breathe, cry, all of that. Nothing's happening still. Meanwhile, they're looking at me strange, the ones that don't have the baby. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, well, your staircase to your room is so narrow, we can't fit the stretcher in here up the stairs. I'm like, okay. I get out of bed and I walk myself down the steps, right? Blood, umbilical cord, 2-year-old, men, all these men. It's like, y'all couldn't get a female paramedic. Anyways, long story short, I put myself on the stretcher, and I then have our second child in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. So neither one of them was born in a, sterile type of environment and all that kind of stuff. Totally unexpected. So they were born at 25 weeks. It was very, very, very early. They were preemies, but not just preemies, they were micro preemies, which I'd never had heard of. I just thought if you're born early, you're premature. But when you're born that early, they are micro preemies, which means they have, they're in critical condition from the time they get out. So they get into the NICU and they're fighting for their little lives. The first baby boy, his name is Gregory. Named after his dad, his namesake, he's Gregory III. And the second baby boy that was born in the ambulance, his name is Grayson. So Gregory and Grayson are in the NICU. We're going by every day. I'm pumping milk, right? Because I'm nursing, I'm trying to give them milk from me. And so I'm breast pumping all the time, going up to the NICU every single day, multiple times a day. And we get a call 5 weeks into this whole new routine that we're establishing, which was a whirlwind in and of itself. The trauma of babies coming early in April at home. May, we're getting into a rhythm of sorts, but they're still in the NICU fighting for their lives. And we get a call in the middle of the night. Something's not right with the second baby that was born in the ambulance, baby Grayson. In short order, we okay the surgery he needs to have. And within a couple of days of that surgery, it was found that he would not survive the sickness that had come into his body. So he had necrotizing enterocolitis, called NEC. It's a disease where their intestines they can't fight off what has attacked their intestines, right? They don't have. And we explore different things, but you can't have really a transplant or a transfusion for organs that small, because if you're taking it from someone, there's just not a possibility for that right now at the time. So he passed away in May. So the very next month, we had his funeral. So if you're tracking with the timeline, April, we have twins traumatically. May, baby Grayson dies. June, we have his funeral. We called it a celebration of life service, which again was another trauma because I've never picked out a casket for a baby. And then you realize you really can't pick out a casket because they don't even make them that small. So you're really dealing with a whole nother set of emotions and things with that. Then the next month we're thinking, okay, baby Gregory is starting to do better. So he's moved from the more critical side of the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, to the, almost ready to go home side, which is a good sign, right? He's starting to breathe a little bit better and things like that. Well, we brought him home and we were like, okay, finally. Okay, now we can start grieving the loss of baby Grayson. Now we can explain to our 2-year-old why the twin, the 2 cribs we had in the room, we have to take one away. There's 2 sets of clothes we have to take away. We can start that process, the healing journey. Until July hit, and I went in for what I thought was a routine visit to just tell the doctors that this cough that I had, that they need to do this little surgery for, how we do as moms, that can wait. We're going to wait on that little surgery about this cough that I have. We're going to wait on that. Listen, here's the situation. I just had twins. One of them passed away. I got to take care of the one I got at home because he's still, we got to watch him. We have a 2-year-old, I'm coming here as a courtesy to y'all, pretty much, how we do. Coming in here as courtesy to y'all so that I can go ahead and get this scheduled for about a year out because I'm still nursing and we can do this little surgery later. They were like, the surgeon said, he came into the room. It's like, Miss Brewton, I I realized you didn't understand exactly what this was, but this is cancer. Wait, what? Said, wait a minute. So not only is it cancer, it's stage 3 and it's very aggressive. So my treatment plan had to begin immediately. So I was diagnosed on July 31st, the very last day of July. The very next month, I start chemotherapy. I mean, it was no time in between to wait. They said this is very much something that we have to treat aggressively. So I go from trying to process all of that to losing all my hair to being weak. The chemotherapy was, it was so strong that one part of it was so strong, they called it the Red Devil. It was, I had to get the treatment on a Thursday and not bring it back until the Monday when I came in for my next treatment, because it was so powerful that if it dripped all at once, you would die. Like it was that toxic to your body. So I had to have this attached to my body, and I still have a scar for it, where they had to have it drip through my body for about 3 days, very slowly, so I can get this other part of the treatment. After chemotherapy, then I had to have a surgery where I have a large scar down my chest called a sternotomy. And then after the sternotomy, I had to learn how to walk again. I got pneumonia. I don't even know if I told you this, I had to fight off what could have been a prescribed drug addiction, because I was getting Oxycontin and it was so powerful. And it did the job. I was definitely not feeling the pain, but that was the problem. I didn't feel anything else either. So then there's that. And then I finally get to the point where I was ready to have radiation, which was proton therapy radiation. And all of that happened over the course of month to month, starting in April 2018. Whew, it's been a journey.
Yeah, that your story, again, that's amazing that you are such an upbeat person. I just love it. You know, some people kind of live back in that and it just carries on and on.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about, at this time, your mama's heart. Where was it doing? You're trying to take care of you're not trying. You're doing like that fight to make it. What was it? What was going on with you at this time?
It was tough because prior to all of this happening, back in 2014, I had been doing all the good stuff, been married to my husband for 11 years, and we didn't want to have kids yet. Finally, because I was a good girl, you know, I was doing everything the right way. I finally decided I wanted to have children. So I got pregnant, and then I had a miscarriage, and I was mad with God. I mean, mad. I was pissed. Like, how could you do this? I did it all right. So I've already dealt with, during that time, I start dealing with what my identity would be like not being a mom. Because I had attached so much of who I am as a woman to being a mom, meaning birthing out my own children, not realizing all the aunties, grandmas, and them who may not have children, but they are moms no less, right? So I start dealing with all of that since 2014. So that's playing in the background. Fast forward to answer your question more directly, I start thinking about that. Okay, so this doesn't make me not be a good mom. Because at first that guilt of, wait, did I, you know, was I trying to do too much? You know how you do sometimes, trying to do this and that, work, was I doing too much? So I had to get rid of the guilt very quickly, because that was not going to be good for my cancer journey. My doctors, because I had a whole team of doctors, they were saying your chances of doing well are very good. Your prognosis is very good because you have an upbeat attitude. If you can keep that upbeat attitude, we think you'll have a great success with this treatment plan we have you on. So I thought, okay, well, I can't live in the guilt, right? I got to get over the guilt fast. But I did have to give myself a grief moment, like moments. And I still have triggers. I'll give you a great example. The other day, I told my daughter, you know, she's in, you know, in first grade, and she's going into school, you know, with the mask and everything. And I told her to go upstairs, and which she does every night, go upstairs, pick out your clothes for the next day. So I'm always surprised at what she's going to find, right? She's going to match, she's not going to match, whatever. But we just let her be her, as long as it's nothing outrageous, like certain little shorts you don't wear to school, baby. You know, that's for home. But that kind of thing. So I go up there that night, and I look, she has it all laid out, what she's going to wear, her birthday outfit. Her birthday happened, and she wanted to wear something special. So she picked out the yellow dress that she wore to her brother's funeral. I was not ready for that. That took me completely by surprise. Right? I didn't even think, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. That was great. You answered it just perfectly, because they told you what I was thinking. Like, your mindset is everything.
Yeah.
When you're going through just life, period.
Yes.
But especially when your body isn't in the wellness that you want it to be, you have to keep that positive mindset, and you answered it perfectly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's an ongoing thing, and I don't want to give the illusion that I'm good now. No, I have moments. Just last night, I was going to take the kids somewhere, and like the park or something. So I grabbed some shoes. I'm like, why haven't I worn these shoes in so long? I'm tripping. I get the pair of shoes, and one of the pair of shoes is the shoelaces are looking all strange. I'm like, why wouldn't somebody lace up the shoe strings? I put on the shoes, I lace them up, I put on the shoes, I come back home. I'm like, wait a minute. And then it hit me. These are the shoes my husband grabbed when the paramedics said, get a pair of shoes and get some tennis shoe laces and tie the umbilical cord off. Like, those are the shoes he picked.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, 3 years ago, these were the shoes. And I realized, wait, that's why. And so, how sometimes you go through life and you avoid things, you don't even realize why.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been avoiding those shoes for 3 years, and I didn't get it until that moment, just yesterday. And I got chills, and I'm like, wow, look how far we've come.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I literally walked a mile in those shoes.
It's so interesting how grief hits us. And I know for people that deal with different types of losses, for me, the loss of my father, people have asked me several times, well, how do you feel on his birthday and that sort of thing? And it's, I don't get emotional on his birthday always. And when I found out that he passed away, I was at rehearsal. And so I broke down on the side of the road. And I remember this stranger was like, oh my word, are you okay? And I was inconsolable.
Yeah.
That was several years ago. That was over 10 years ago. And even now to this day, it's not his birthday or Father's Day that gets me always. So, I mean, sometimes, but it's just random moments.
Yes.
Where I think about a joke he told, or I see him and my son some way,
yeah,
he acts, and I get like choked up, and I have to get myself together. So yeah, that the fact that you said that you got those shoes and you had been avoiding them, and then all of a sudden that stuff came back, that's not surprising. It's just a reminder of how grief sneaks up on us, or those moments.
And what I've learned is, don't try to avoid the moments. Just go through the moment of it. Like, let yourself have that. It's like what we do as moms. At least that's one of the strategies I use for our kids. When I was growing up, it would be like, okay, just stop crying. Okay, stop. Now, with our kids, with myself even, it's like, okay, have the emotion. Like, I know you hurt. I know that hurt you. I know your boo-boo, you got a little scratch. Oh, I know that hurt, right? Did it hurt? Yes, it hurt. Okay, it's okay to cry. I understand. We all cry too sometimes. And then you go past it. What I find is trying to repress it or suppress those moments does worse. It ends up being, it shows up one way or the other. So I'm snapping at the kids, or I'm snapping at my husband, or I don't feel like doing the work I'm supposed to be doing, because we sometimes don't necessarily consciously connect those things, but subconsciously they're still there. So I've realized, just allow myself to have the moments, and it's okay. Let yourself have the grief moments. I dealt with something, this is just 3 years in. I talked to somebody the other day. It's been 7 years removed from the loss of one of her sibling, and she still has those moments. So one of the things I wanted to do is share the stigma of trying to get it together is a fallacy. The getting together is the journey. That's the journey. It's not a one moment in time thing.
Yeah. It's been 30 years since my aunt lost her son. Wow. And she's like one of my strongest people that I lean on. And I always ask her, I say, so how is that? because
Mm-hmm.
because that was the first person closest to me to ever transition. And she said, it's not easy, but I know I had my other three boys to live for. And that's what makes me, and even though my cousins are in their 60s now, she still sees that as, this is my purpose.
Wow.
What was your faith like? Because you had said that back in 2014, you did everything right. And you got, you and your husband got married. You had been married for a bit and you decided, I'm ready to have a child. And when you lost that child, you were angry with God, and you and I, we have talked before, and you had said, I've done everything right. And this was my plan for life. And,
right.
So why wouldn't it work? And you have this extreme faith where it says, ask and it shall be given. Like,
right.
You truly believe that in your fiber. So how was your faith during this time when it was boom, 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 one thing after another?
Yeah, it was, it wasn't, it might shock you, but the 2014, what my faith was more shaken than it was when 2018 happened. 2014, that was like the first time, because you have to understand, I'm a planner. I get stuff done. I get what I want. Like, that's been my level of faith. I believe it. I strategize. I get it. Right. And then when I didn't get it in 2014, and I felt like it was cruel punishment for something I don't know what I did wrong. Right. That's what I was thinking. I had a breakdown in my faith. And then I learned about something called enmity, where you are angry at God. And it was a beautiful thing to experience before all this happened, because I realized not only is God not surprised by the fact that you have the feelings you have, he knows them already. So you can go ahead and bring them to him. So I learned from then that it doesn't help to close God out, because you really can anyway. So throughout this process, starting in 2018, my relationship and my faith in God has grown tremendously, because I felt like I only had one of two choices. I could either ignore God and act like he's not there and be miserable anyway, and still have to go through all the reality of what I'm going through. It's not like it would go away if I was mad at God. Or I can lean into him more and say, okay, I don't get this. One of the things that kept happening was people kept telling me how strong I was. Oh my God, you're so strong. Your faith is so strong. And one day I said to God, I was like, look, if you wanted people, like, I get them, like, I get it. Like, people thinking I'm strong. Okay, got it. Like, I'm good now. I don't need any more of your lessons with me being strong. I'm good. I'm good here. And what I felt him say to me was a scripture in Ephesians 6:10 that says, well, now you're ready, because you've been relying on your strength for all these years. And Ephesians 6:10 says, be strong in his might and in his power. And I say, okay, God, teach me how to lean on your strength, because I don't have strength for this. This is beyond me. And I think boldness in Christ has grown so much, because I know it to be true that I can cast all my cares on him. I can be honest. Like, I went through my journal one time and I saw that I just was cussing. Like, I was like, this S sucks. People who know me knows, first of all, I tried to cuss before and I just don't do it well. And so it's not effective. It's not effective cussing. So I don't cuss. But just even seeing that in my journal, I didn't have words to articulate. I didn't have a scripture. I didn't have a sermon. I didn't have a song. Like, I didn't have words. All I could think of, the most mad I could get, was this cuss word. And I just have it in my journal. And I'm like, this ass sucks. And that was it. That was my journal entry. And I'm just so glad that we serve the kind of God that can carry us and we don't have to carry him in our pocket, right? He can carry us even when it doesn't make sense. And it's true. And so that's why in the work that I do as a coach, I'm all about not the roses, not the colored glasses and everything's rosy and it'll be all right. Pick yourself up by the bootstrap. No, we deal with stuff. It's hard. One of my coaching clients was infertile, like she could not get pregnant. And she's a woman of faith. Okay, what do you tell somebody? Go read scripture? No, like we got to process that stuff. And we got to lean into our identity and all of that stuff. So you asked about my faith. My faith was strengthened because I realized, similar to what Latana, you said, your aunt says about her son, she has her sons that are living. I have other things to live for, right? That was not the totality of who I am as a person. So that's the one part of my faith. But the other part is if I live this life right on this side of eternity, I will see that child again, both of those children. And one of the hardest things that happened for me was a trigger when I had an application to fill out after all this happened, and they asked for how many kids you have. And I felt super guilty that I wasn't able to put the first baby that died in the miscarriage, baby Peace is what we call him, and our second baby Grayson. I couldn't write those names down on the application, right? Because they're not asking that. But I felt so guilty, but I don't want to act like I'm not acknowledging my other children. Because to me, I'm a mom of 4, period. 2 on earth, 2 in heaven. So the process of the faith, I think faith is a journey, not a destination. It's a day-by-day thing. Sometimes, honestly, I'd be like, I can speak to this mountain. I got faith today. Yes. Come and get me today, Jesus. I'm ready. Other days, it's like, well, I'm pissed, I'm mad, or whatever it is, But that's one of the things I love about the journey, is that it's just that. It's a journey. And I learn stuff about myself all the time.
It ebbs and flows. And
yeah, for sure.
I love that. I love your raw, genuine answer, because I think that a lot of times, and one of my issues too, and I am a believer in Jesus, but one of my issues with some people that call themselves that is that they're just like, oh, happy all the time and everything's so perfect and let anybody see me sweat. And it's like, nobody wants to see that.
No.
That's, people hate you because you're not showing your real true self.
That's right.
Authenticity is everything.
And the fact that you're like, you say you wrote in your journal, this S sucks. Sometimes it just be like that.
It just be like that.
All human beings, and we have those moments. So get over yourself and be real with people.
That's right.
Well, they got to be real with themselves. The reason they're not real with people is because they're not real with themselves. You have to come to that within. In your relationship,
you hit on something
when
you say that, because I dealt because I used to be, like you were just saying, Patricia, I used to be that happy-go-lucky. Everything's fine. Just get a scripture, you'll be fine. Scripture, they keep the devil away. I used to be like that, honestly. And this situation helped me be way more authentic. First of all, I wasn't here for the foolery anymore. I was like, yeah, well, I ain't got that. You gonna get this rawness, because that's what I have to give. But the other part of it was when I went through counseling, because I was diagnosed with, it's not chronic PTSD, but it's like low grade. I don't want to say, there's like a spectrum. I was on the lower spectrum of PTSD that I was diagnosed. And just to be clear, I totally think mental health is a thing. And so I'm saying this out loud to destigmatize how we label things and we think it's so terrible. At the same time, though, I don't own that I have any kind of mental health problems. I feel like I'm renewed in Christ Jesus. So I want to be clear about that. But the reason I even brought that up is because during this process, I in counseling realized that a lot of how I was like that was because I thought I had to please everybody in order for everybody to like me, because I was dealing with abandonment issues from my father. This is years. This is like 30 something years. I'm 35 at the time, like decades of unresolved abandonment issues that have swelled into trying to wear a mask and be something that nobody even really wants anyway. But I'm thinking that that's what I have to do. I have to perform. I have to get the atta girls from other people, and then I'll be acceptable. Because back in the day when I was abandoned, I didn't feel accepted.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with what you just said. Like, that's a whole beast.
Just right there.
I went through a training just to kind of recap some of the things that you were saying, is that everything around you is a reflection of your past trauma or something that has happened that you must deal with. Go ahead, get it, feel it, cry, do whatever you got to do, write your journal entry.
That's right.
Be in that moment.
That's right.
Only take 10 minutes. We ain't talking about go lay in the bed for 8 days. I get it. I know I've been in a depressed place and it feels good just being alone, but no, deal with it. Give yourself that 10 minutes to feel it and go on and redirect your day.
That's right.
This is a great conversation.
Yeah.
It is. And so I wanna keep moving forward, and I wanna ask you, because you said your daughter was there, she witnessed it. Have you had a chance to talk to her about it? And if not, in the future, is there going to be a time when you talk to her and your son about what happened?
Yeah, so we dealt with this. We started to deal with this, first of all, because she saw it, right? And then she knew that there were two, and then we only came home with one, right? So there's that reality. But it really came to a head with how we're going to deal with this is when it came to his celebration of life ceremony. Again, this is pre-COVID, so we were like, okay, how do we do this? Do we have an open casket, right? Like, okay, these are things you never think of, right? Do you have an open casket? Okay, if we do we allow her to come? We got the limo thing to go drive to the church where the funeral is going to be. Do we allow her to be in the car with us because mommy and daddy might be a complete mess that day? Like all these questions we started doing. But what we ended up realizing is when we prayed about it, and it was like, okay, God, there's nothing that takes you by surprise. So you don't have to help us through this grieving process too. But then the other thing was, and it's similar to how we approach naming of body parts, is we go ahead and say it. So we call the body part the vagina or the penis, right? To our children. We tell them to say it.
Absolutely.
Because we need you to know when you were communicating back to us if something happened, what happened and what body part, right? So we're those kind of parents. So we took that same thinking and applied it to this particular situation when it came to the celebration of life and said, will we then, again, that gnawing question, am I doing this mom thing right? Will we go back, fast forward 20 years, and she's giving, her high school graduation valedictorian speech, and she tell the whole world that she wished she could have said goodbye to her brother? Like I go there and I'm like, geez, well, I can work through an issue of she seeing it and it might've been too much, but I can't get back not letting her have the closure of saying goodbye. Like I can't get that back. So we went ahead and decided to allow her to come sit with us in the vehicle, to actually come inside the church and also see the casket and say goodbye. And we put a trinket from each of us in the casket as well, so that we wanted her to have a sense of closure as well. And when we do refer to him, like someone in her class, and this is fast forwarding past and I'm jumping, so let me know if y'all not following. But when someone does refer to another Grayson, or she has a boy that name in her actual class, I think because we handled it that way back then, the stigma is not so dreadful that she can't function. You know what I mean? Like we understand we might still have to do and are totally open to therapy. At the same time, we didn't close her off from the truth and reality of what has happened. Because the truth and the reality is she knows that she was right there when we had to take down one of the cribs and try to find someone who needed a crib, because we didn't need 2 cribs anymore. Or we had to get rid of the second pair of clothes because we don't have 2 babies anymore. We have 1. So we let her go through the process with us. And it's still one of those tenuous things where it might come up and something might trigger, and we have those conversations. We did tell him what our belief system is that we believe to be absent with us on earth is to be present with the Lord, so that he's in heaven. That's what we believe. So we told her that, and we told her he's there with baby Peace, the other baby we had in a miscarriage. And so she knows about that. And so she can speak intellectually about it in terms of saying, oh, baby Peace is in heaven, or baby Grace is in heaven. And then she goes along about her day, she's 6. But that's how we chose to handle it.
I just want to say it's so precious your baby is sleeping. That is the most.
Let me tell you something. He is snoring right up in this phone right now.
I love it. I could go to sleep.
And that's awesome.
So peaceful, by the way. I was like,
it does.
Jacynta, this interview has been such a pleasure. I would love to speak with you at another time. Mm-hmm. I am going to have to sign off, but you and Patricia are going to continue on. And I look forward to speaking with you again. This is
yes, please do. It's not our first and last.
I know,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
You have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
So yeah, I love it. I think that a lot of times people are so afraid of how much they give their children. But children will allow you to lead, and they can understand so much more than we give them credit for.
That's right.
And also they'll let you know when they're done with the conversation. Like you said, your daughter will say, my brother, he's in heaven with baby peace, and she'll go on about her
skip along her day. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think that as adults, sometimes we can overcomplicate things, and they always keep it so simple. And I know sometimes people are just like, let's just let kids be kids. And it's, yes, absolutely. Let kids be kids. At the same time, have a respect for them. They're little people.
They are little people.
Rather
exactly.
than treating them a certain way when they're babies, cater to their age, of course, but treat them as little people so that when they get older, we don't have to retrain them,
That's right. Or try to retrain them, because it's tougher then. Yeah.
Exactly. So I love that, you handled the situation that way. And I know not everybody will handle situations the same. They do what they feel they need to do in the moment, but yeah, I love that so much.
And I didn't even say that after the celebration of life ceremony, after we allowed her to see the casket, say her goodbyes, girlfriend fell asleep on the pew and was like, where are we going next? And we went to the gravesite, and we released a balloon. We allowed her to release a balloon. And it was and then I didn't say this, but we did not do a formal, I'm doing air quotes, like funeral. We asked people, because there's a level of comfort, but we asked people not to wear Black. We asked them to wear festive colors, because it was a themed homegoing service, celebration of life. It was carnival, because we're celebrating him going to the big top in the sky. And so after the funeral, after the graveyard, we went back to the church and had what's usually a repast. We had a carnival celebration where we had a carnival cake, and we had games, and we had food, like, carnival type food, to celebrate that he's in a better place now.
Aww.
So symbolically, that memory isn't so hard on her if she does ever refer back to certain things she remembers.
Yes, that's beautiful. Well, like LaTanya said, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been incredible. And this is not the first time that I heard this story, but there's so much in it. And I really appreciate you being willing to share your story with our audience, because I believe that, the most important thing for me is just allowing people to share their stories, because we all have stories and we don't always get an opportunity to share them. And there are so many people in this world, somebody's going to connect with that. And you're going to say something that is going to encourage someone during a situation that they're having, whether they're going through it at this moment, or, maybe they'll have this moment in the future and they hear you speaking on it. And what you say will help them feel connected and help them see, okay, so she's dealt with this. She got through it. She's working through it. I can do it too.
That's right.
On that note, what are some words of encouragement that you would give to other moms, other women that have experienced this or something?
Two of my top ones are, one, lean in on faith and don't lean out, because it could be very tempting to just be mad. It's like, well, God, if you know everything, why did you let this happen? This is so mean and cruel. And I especially could have thought that because I was like faith in it, just to even get pregnant with twin boys, right? So there was that. So the first thing is, it could be very tempting to say, I'm done with God. I think this is the time where you start asking, they used to, back when I was growing up, they used to say, you don't question God. Well, I counter that and I say, you respectfully counter, you respectfully question God and ask, because those asking, just like think of like our children, we're moms. When your kids ask questions, they're learning opportunities, and God treats us as his children. So they're learning opportunities when we ask him. So, and how many times have you said to your kid, if you wanted something, why didn't you ever ask? So just asking like, hey God, I want to understand, maybe you don't understand, I don't understand this, but I want to understand. My biggest thing wasn't why. A lot of people assume that it was. My biggest question wasn't why, because again, back in 2014, that was my why question. When I was like, what are you doing? Like, why is this happening? My question was, and still continues to be, what is it that you want me to learn from this? Because this didn't take you by surprise. So, and you didn't choose everybody. Like, this is a very unique situation. Why, what am I supposed to, me, Jacynta, supposed to learn through this as a mom, as a Black woman, as, you know, all of that, wife and all that. And then the second thing is to write in a very practical way. Writing has been not only cathartic, but it's been a ministry to me, delivering to me, where I went back and I can look at some of the stuff I said, and I can see now that I've grown through the process of this, because I'll ask questions in my journal and I'll just brain dump, I'll just mind dump stuff in writing. And then I'll go back a year later, 2 years later, and this is now 3 years ago. So I'll even go back to something I wrote 3 years ago when it was fresh. And then 2 years in, I'll read something I wrote. And it was just, you could tell the maturity had taken, you know, shape a little bit better. And I was a little more content in my relationship with Christ. You know, all of that came through because I just was writing. I think be cautious. You know, you asked, so I'm going to tell you my straight up answer. I'm very cautious of support groups. Different types of support groups are good for me, but others are not. So there is like a cancer support group for the particular type of thymoma cancer that I was diagnosed with, that I am in the group, but I can really only tap in there like once a month, because it's like doom and gloom all the time. And that's a lot on my spirit. So I can't do that all the time, but I am there and I try to offer encouragement, you know, here and there. But there are other groups that are helpful to me that I'm more aligned with. So just your podcast is one way that Black Mom Diaries is a great podcast. So it's been very therapeutic in its own way. And then straight up, go to therapy. Yeah, no, seriously.
Right,
I'm not,
yes.
yeah, straight up, go to therapy. Go to therapy, y'all. I am all for therapy. Again, that's when I learned that part of these issues I was having were stemming from way back in my childhood at the point of abandonment when my father left. And that's something you have to deal with, right? Like, you got to deal with that.
Absolutely.
So those are my thing. The first one is, you know, lean into God, don't lean out. The second one is write, and the third one's go to therapy and listen to Black Mom Diaries podcast.
Hey. And I didn't
and they
tell
did
her
not
to say
tell me
that.
to do that. Exactly. But they did not tell me to do that.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I really like what you said about leaning into God, because I think a lot of times I think about that scripture of when I was a child, I did childish things. And now that I am no longer a child, I'm going to butcher it, but you're not doing childish things.
Right.
And so oftentimes for me, whenever I'm dealing with something, I feel like I default to those childish things where I'm just like, oh God. And then I know, like, recently I had to say to myself, I had to have a moment with myself where I said, you do this all the time. God has never failed you. Even when you are not faithful to him, he's always faithful to you, Patricia. So why not take a different approach and just praise him during this difficult time? Stay close to him. Do not question him. And just, you know, like, don't, you know, like you said, you can question him, but it's not like, why me, why God, you know, like, what do you want me to learn?
Right.
And it's not just where I'm just frustrated and I get angry as usual, but I just have a moment where I'm just like, okay, Lord, I'm not okay.
Yes.
I'm not okay with this right now.
That part,
I don't
Patricia.
know what this is about. I need you to help me see. I need you to help me walk through this, because I cannot do this on my own. But I know that no matter what, you are God and you are good, and I will praise you. You know? And it's such a difference. It's such a difference for me. So I really love that, you know, that you said that, because that is very, very, very important. And
I'll tell you one last thing to that point.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when people kept saying, you know, you're like the modern day Job. That's what people kept saying to me. I got that a lot. Like, I got the two things I got the most was, you're so strong and you're like the modern day Job.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, God, I don't want to be the modern day Job. I don't want to be this strong, but I had been avoiding, again, like I was avoiding those shoes and not even realizing it. I had been avoiding reading the book of Job because I was like, I don't want to hear nothing about how he went through so much and God made it better. Because people kept saying, because at the end, he got double for his trouble. I'm like, you can't replace my child with another child. Like, that's not like, so that whole rhetoric was annoying to me. So I was avoiding reading the book of Job. Finally, I read it. And I read it and I was like, wow. What ended up happening was God used the scenario that happened with him, the trauma and the tragedy that he went through, to show Job something about himself that he did not realize. And it's the same thing I got from one of the big lessons I got from our trauma and tragedy, which God showed him he was self-righteous because he did do a lot of things right. And when trauma hit, like it did with me in 2014, my self-righteousness said, God, this is not supposed to happen. I did everything right. Similar to what Job said. I mean, he spent a lot of time talking it out because like half of it is him and his friends going back and forth about, Job saying, I'm so righteous. This just never should have happened to me. And all of his friends are saying, you got this sin. You're terrible. You're just not being honest. And then finally, this young one comes up, Elihu, saying, hey, look, y'all all tripping. I was just not saying anything because I'm young and y'all are older. So I was letting the elders go first. But let me tell y'all something about Jesus. Let me tell you something about God. And that's when I realized that self-righteousness shows up in a lot of ways. And God will use any situation to teach us something about ourselves. And I realized I was humbled. God told me and showed me how the cancer that I was experiencing in my physical body was parallel to the unforgiveness that I was experiencing in my spiritual body. How the cancer of the soul, and that's part of the name of my book that I'm writing now. I did not plan on plugging that, Patricia. I did not, but it just came out. But part of the cancer of our soul is unforgiveness and offense. And it will manifest in the physical in various ways. And in my way, one of the ways it manifested was in actual cancer, like physical cancer. Because the kind of cancer I was diagnosed with is not in my family at all. Like, who the heck has ever heard of thymoma cancer? Like, what the heck is that?
And I don't know if I read about it or not, or if you told me, but it was like a rare type of cancer.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. It's a very rare form of cancer. So all of that to say, try your best, be honest with how you're feeling, process it, go through the emotions of it all, but also know that there's something for you to learn. Like, it's very easy to say this should have never happened to me. It's like, well, is there something, if you really are honest with yourself, that you can uncover and unpack? And for me, mine was the unforgiveness that I had let fester into so many other parts of my life, to the point where it finally got my attention when God allowed me to sit down long enough to process this, because I had been avoiding it.
Man, well, I am going to say it again. Thank you so much. And you know what? I have a confession to make, you guys. My husband has worked with Jacynta in the past. And he has just gone on about how amazing you are.
Oh, wow.
A leadership coach. So if someone listening to this wants to use those services, how can they get in touch with you?
I would just say on LinkedIn or Instagram, just DM me directly, message me on LinkedIn and on Instagram or on Facebook. I'm the same person. It's at Jacynta Brewton, Jacyn like Nancy, T like Tom, A, Brewton, no spaces, brew like you brew coffee, BREWTON. So JACYNTA BREWTON. So just at me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram, and then we can just talk.
Awesome. Well, and we will have her information in the description as well, so you guys can look for it there for all of those individuals that like to see it.
Right.
But yeah, and you're writing a book, so I am excited about that. I look forward to that in the future.
In the future, right.
If you have information on that, would you like to share it? Like, do you
Not yet. It's still working, all in the progress. Yeah, all in the process.
All right.
But I will share it with Black Mom Diaries for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I just want to say again, Jacynta, thank you so much for being willing to visit with us today and share your story. It's just really been amazing to hear your story again and learn more about you. And I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you,
Thank
Patricia,
you.
and Latanya. I keep saying Latanya. Is it Latanya or Latanya?
Latanya.
I don't know why I keep saying Latanya. I know what. I played basketball in high school with a girl named Latanya, and she made sure we got the. Anyways, so Latanya and Patricia, it's been amazing, and I will continue listening to your podcast. You know what? I listen to your podcast, so I should know how to say it. But anyway, it's one of those things. Either way, I say to you, and I said it before, your platform is amazing. And I think the work that you all are doing is really relevant and really refreshing. So please keep doing what you're doing. It is so needed.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot to me. So, and I know that it means a lot to Latanya, and she's very forgiving. So
yes, I'm so sorry, Latanya, when you hear this later. I'm so sorry.
But thank you again. And I want to say to our audience, thank y'all for listening to our show today. If you want to connect with us, feel free to look for us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can just search us at Black Mom Diaries. If you want to email us at blackmomdiaries@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you think you have a great idea for a show, you want to be a guest on our show, reach out to us. We would love to hear from you guys. And of course, on the podcast platforms, leave us feedback because we want to know. We want to know the good, the bad, and all of the in between. So until next time, I am Patricia and Latanya is Latanya. And thank you so much for listening to the Black Mom Diaries.
Thanks so much for spending this episode with us. And if you like what you heard, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, be sure to join us on the next episode of the Black Mom Diaries.